The aliens didn't just dismiss us, they wrote us off like a bad stock investment. Pity for them, humans are really good at insider trading with physics itself. The aliens didn't just dismiss us, they erased us from the scoreboard before the game even started. In their grand histories, they catalogued extinct empires, collapsed dynasties, and failed species with more elegance than we'd ever managed. To them, humanity belonged in the footnotes, somewhere between not worth mentioning and tragic curiosity. The Galactic Council chamber confirmed it. Towering crystalline pillars glowed faintly with data streams, each pulsing with the pride of civilizations millions of years old. Holographic stars floated in lazy spirals overhead. And in the center, standing far too comfortably for someone representing an irrelevant species, was Captain Elias Ward. He looked like any polite diplomat, tailored dark suit, hands folded neatly behind his back, a slight, friendly smile. The kind of man you'd ask for directions on a subway platform. But under that calm face rested the patience of someone who'd survived worse things than diplomatic banquets. He scanned the chamber with eyes that carried both curiosity and quiet amusement. The council members were less subtle. Humans are not a threat, sneered Chancellor Keth of the Dravari, her scaled body shimmering under the chamber's lights. Their weapons are laughable, their fleets, scrap metal held together with tape. Tape is versatile, Elias said warmly, as if offering a household tip. Keeps wings on planes, marriages intact, and sometimes even civilizations. Several delegates exchanged uneasy looks. They weren't used to prey speaking with teeth. A shrill voice broke in from the perch of the Avri, bird-like beings with long, jeweled beaks. Their science lags centuries behind. Why waste cycles debating their petition for recognition? They barely crawl between stars. Elias tilted his head, lips curling. True, we crawl. But we're rather fond of crawling into places we're not supposed to reach. That earned a ripple of discontent. Some laughed at the insolence. Others scribbled notes, the way biologists mark when the lab rat starts chewing through the bars. From the side, an elder Krith delegate, ancient, chitinous, voice like gravel, clicked his mandibles. I have seen their species before. Always smiling, always talking. But behind the noise, they plan. The Dravari Chancellor hissed. Paranoia. Their ships can't even scratch our shields. No vessel in history has pierced them. The room hummed with agreement. Galactic shields were the pride of the civilized worlds, shimmering barriers of energy tuned to resist every known form of attack. Empires had risen and fallen trying to breach them. None had succeeded. Elias adjusted his cufflinks as if the topic bored him. Impressive technology, he said gently. Shields have a certain confidence to them. Like castles. Of course, history's funny about castles. The Avri representative leaned forward. What about them? Every one of them eventually learned the same lesson. Elias smiled thinly. The wall doesn't always fail from the outside. The chamber fell quiet. It wasn't the words themselves but the ease with which he spoke them, the calm of a man reminding strangers about gravity. A human quirk, turning threats into dinner-table observations. The silence shattered when a younger alien, barely past adolescence, blurted out from the lower benches. His skin was mottled green, his voice trembling. I heard rumors. Your species fought wars with nothing but rocks and sticks. And still won. Elias gave a polite shrug. Well, sometimes the other guy brings fewer rocks. That earned muffled laughter from the human aides seated at the back, but the aliens found no humor in it. The young delegates' words rattled in their minds. Rocks and sticks. Winning anyway. Chancellor Keth pounded a clawed fist against her console. Enough riddles. Humanity is weak. Pathetic. Their entry into this council is a joke. Elias's expression never shifted from its polite calm. We've been called worse. Usually by our neighbors. The chamber lights dimmed as the council's AI projected a hologram of their latest fleet demonstration. A formation of gleaming battleships encircled a test station. Energy shields shimmered into place, layer upon layer until the air itself seemed to bend around them. Weapons fire blazed against the barriers, dissolving harmlessly into sparks. No race has pierced these defenses, declared the Avri delegate proudly. They are absolute, impenetrable, the shield of civilization itself. All eyes turned to Elias. He watched the simulation in silence, hands still folded, head tilted slightly. When the final blast fizzled out against the glowing wall, he chuckled softly. "Beautiful," he said. "Like a snow globe." "A what?" the Avri snapped. "A fragile sphere you shake to watch things dance inside," Elias explained. "Lovely on a mantle. Unless, of course, someone figures out how to get in." The remark dropped like a stone into still water. Ripples of discomfort spread across the chamber. The Krith elder scraped a claw against the floor. "You imply your kind could pass through such defenses?" Elias smiled again, the same small, infuriatingly calm smile. "Oh, not at all. We're far too clumsy. We trip on stairs, burn toast, spill coffee. Honestly, our entire species is a comedy of errors." He let the chuckles rise before adding, with the gentlest tone imaginable, "And somehow, we survive everything." The chamber chilled. Aliens who had mocked him minutes ago now avoided his eyes. The human reputation was thin in this galaxy, but whispers had traveled, of wars that burned continents, of survival against odds no species should endure. Elias broke the tension by clapping his hands together lightly. "Well, thank you for the demonstration. Fascinating technology. I do have one question, if I may." The Avri hesitated. "Ask." "Has anyone," Elias asked, voice almost playful, "ever tested what happens when the rules of physics themselves change?" Confusion flickered across the council. Some muttered about nonsense, others dismissed it outright. But a few, just a few, sat very still. The Krith elder tilted his massive head. "Explain." Elias only smiled, offering no explanation at all. Instead, he retrieved a small notebook from his jacket pocket and scribbled a line, humming faintly as though jotting down a grocery list. That image stuck. An alien chamber filled with empires millions of years old, and a single human, writing notes like a student planning tomorrow's errands. It was disarming, and deeply unsettling. Before the council could press him, the session ended. Delegates filed out in murmurs, some mocking, some uneasy. The shields gleamed overhead in prideful defiance, untouchable as ever. Only the Krith elder lingered. He approached Elias slowly, mandibles twitching. "You hide something," he rasped. Elias closed the notebook, tucked it neatly into his jacket, and bowed slightly. His smile never wavered. "Elder," he said softly, "the thing about walls is, once you learn how they work, you stop seeing them as walls at all." And with that, he turned and walked out, shoes clicking against the polished crystal floor. The elder stood frozen, a cold certainty crawling through his ancient mind. Humans weren't laughingstock newcomers. They were waiting. And when they stopped waiting, the galaxy would bleed. The council session adjourned, but the debate didn't stop. The chambers spilled into long glass corridors where delegates hissed, clicked, and whispered. News traveled quickly in a galaxy full of tongues. By the time Captain Elias Ward reached the shuttle bay, 3 different alien factions had already filed protests. Some demanded humanity's expulsion. Others insisted the remarks were empty bravado. A few, however, muttered with genuine fear. Inside the shuttle, Elias sat with his crew, a handful of officers who looked far too relaxed for representatives of a supposedly irrelevant species. Lieutenant Alvarez lounged in the pilot's chair, boots up, chewing gum as though he'd stolen it from the galaxy's last vending machine. "They bought it?" Alvarez asked, smirking. Elias settled into his seat. "They didn't buy a word of it. Which is perfect." The others chuckled. They weren't diplomats in the polished sense. They were soldiers, engineers, and strategists wrapped in polite clothing. Ward's team specialized in playing the fool until the moment the mask slipped. 2 days later, the aliens received their first shock. A neutral observation station near the Ares belt caught sight of a Terran vessel performing tests. From the outside, the ship looked pitiful, paint-scorched, hull patched with mismatched alloys. Its engines sputtered like a smoker's cough. The station staff laughed, passing drinks as they watched the humans aim a field generator at a barren asteroid. "Trying to melt a rock," one technician snorted. The laughter died when the asteroid phased through the shield perimeter as if the barrier weren't there. It didn't shatter, didn't slow, didn't even flicker. One moment outside, the next inside. The recording spread like fire. The council reconvened. "This is a trick," the Dravari chancellor roared. "An illusion." The Avri delegate clicked furiously, feathers rattling. Sensors confirmed it. The rock ignored the barrier entirely. The Krith elder, silent until now, rasped, "Not ignored. Rewritten." Elias, standing calmly before the uproar, clasped his hands behind his back. "We're still working out the details, of course. Might have broken a few lab instruments along the way. My engineers are begging for sturdier coffee mugs." The chamber erupted. "Impossible!" shouted one delegate. "Illegal!" screamed another. "Unstable!" croaked a third. Elias gave a small shrug. "Yes." The single word froze the room. He let the silence stretch before adding, "We trip, we spill, we occasionally detonate things we shouldn't. But every time we stumble, we learn. And we've had a lot of practice stumbling." That line hit harder than any threat. Alien centuries older than Earth had forgotten the desperation of failure. Humans hadn't. Later, in the Council's private lounge, a select few gathered around Elias. The Avri tried diplomacy, their beak clicking nervously. "Captain Ward, if this experiment spreads, it destabilizes everything. Wars, treaties, entire empires depend on shield security." Ward sipped the bitter alien equivalent of coffee and grimaced. "Tastes like sadness." He set the cup down. "Shields are impressive. But you've been leaning on them like a crutch. The first species to walk without it controls the race." The Krith elder leaned closer, voice gravelly. "Are humans that species?" Ward smiled softly. "I wouldn't dream of boasting." The elder's mandibles clicked. He recognized the dodge. From the far side of the room, a younger alien delegate couldn't contain himself. "You should be destroyed before this goes further. If you can bypass shields, no one is safe." Ward's expression remained serene. "If safety is all you want, perhaps you should have left Earth alone when we first reached the stars. But you didn't. You laughed. You filed us under insignificant. That was your safety plan." His words landed like daggers, polite, almost friendly daggers. Meanwhile, whispers ran rampant outside the chamber. Alien analysts replayed the asteroid footage frame by frame. Physicists swore the math didn't add up. Some speculated humanity had hacked the laws of energy transfer. Others claimed it was sabotage of the recording equipment. But none of them could deny the result. An object had passed through the impenetrable. That possibility alone was enough to rattle civilizations. On the observation deck of his ship, Ward met with his team. The crew clustered around holographic projections of shield schematics. Alvarez leaned back in his chair, tossing a stress ball. "So when do we show them the real trick?" "Not yet," Ward said. Ensign Delane, the youngest, frowned. "Sir, they already think we're dangerous. Why not reveal everything and end the debate?" Ward tapped the schematic, highlighting fault lines the aliens had never noticed. "Because panic isn't the same as respect. Right now, they fear the unknown. We need them to understand we're not a curiosity. We're a precedent." Delane hesitated. "Meaning?" Ward smiled faintly. "Meaning that every empire in that chamber must leave with one permanent truth: never count humans out." The following week, another demonstration was arranged. This time, a coalition fleet observed. Hundreds of warships formed a glittering wall around a shielded platform, ready to record every detail. The human vessel drifted into position, the same battered-looking ship with mismatched plating. Mockery buzzed across the fleet channels. They bring a cargo hauler. Pathetic. Watch them embarrass themselves. Ward's voice carried over the broadcast. Come. Unhurried. Almost amused. Ladies, gentlemen, esteemed species, today's experiment is simple. We'll attempt to pass an object through a live barrier. Please remain calm. If anything goes wrong, I assure you, we'll improvise. Humans excel at that. A ripple of nervous laughter echoed, mostly from his own crew. The ship released a probe. Small. Harmless. The barrier flared. The probe vanished. Gasps filled the channels. A second probe was launched. Same result. Then a third probe appeared inside the platform itself, sensors transmitting from the wrong side of reality. Entire fleets broke into shouting. Ward's voice, soft and polite, cut through the chaos. Impressive shield. But you see, we stopped thinking of it as a wall. We started thinking of it as a suggestion. The word echoed in translation across dozens of tongues. Suggestion. A barrier not absolute, but optional. By the time the test ended, galactic politics had shifted. Civilizations that once mocked humanity now convened emergency councils. Armies scrambled to analyze the recordings. Some called for alliances. Others demanded preemptive strikes. And through it all, Captain Elias Ward remained the same. Smiling, courteous, sipping terrible alien coffee, jotting notes as if the galaxy weren't on the verge of panic. When pressed in a private interview, he offered only one line. Quiet, unsettling, unforgettable. We don't break rules. We just bend them until they forget what they were supposed to be. The galaxy didn't wait long to test humanity's claims. Fear rarely does. 2 weeks after the last demonstration, a coalition fleet massed in the Karen Expanse. The official word was containment. The real word was simpler: intimidation. If humanity truly bent shields, the fleet would break them. If not, Earth would learn its place. The task force numbered nearly 300 ships, battleships, cruisers, destroyers. An iron wall of firepower bristling with enough weapons to glass continents. Against it, the Terrans sent one. Not even a flagship. Just the Dauntless, an old warship refitted with patchwork plating and engines that rattled like loose change in a dryer. To the galaxy's cameras, it looked suicidal. To Captain Elias Ward, it was theater. On the bridge of the Dauntless, the crew worked in quiet focus. Holograms traced the enemy formation, overlapping shields, layered fields, perfect symmetry. Looks pretty, Lieutenant Alvarez said, leaning back with his usual smirk. Like a painting. You ever notice paintings never fight back? Ensign Delane gripped the rail nervously. Sir, 300 ships. Us, 1. I mean, we're good, but... Ward adjusted his cuffs, calm as ever. Good doesn't win wars. Different does. The calm crackled to life. A Dravari commander's voice filled the bridge, sharp, mocking. Terran vessel, this is your final warning. Power down and surrender. You are surrounded by superior forces. Ward smiled faintly. We noticed. You have no chance. Everyone keeps telling us that, Ward replied. Strange thing, we survive anyway. The line went silent. The first barrage came without ceremony. A wall of plasma, beams, and missiles screamed toward the Dauntless. Space lit like a second sun. Sensors flared warnings. The crew braced. The storm hit, then passed straight through, detonating behind the Dauntless as if the ship weren't there. Gasps filled the bridge. Delane blinked at the readings. They didn't touch us. Ward's smile sharpened. Physics is negotiable, Ensign. We're simply arguing harder than they are. Alvarez whistled low. That'll get their attention. On enemy channels, confusion erupted. Their shields are phasing. No impact registered. Impossible. The second barrage came faster, angrier. Same result. Energy dissolved like rain through mist. Then the Terrans struck back. "Helm," Ward said softly, "take us in." The Dauntless surged forward, slipping through overlapping enemy barriers as though they were smoke. Cruisers scrambled, reorienting. Battleships fired point-blank. Nothing hit. Ward gave the order. "Fire one." A single missile launched. Small. Unimpressive. It vanished through a battleship's shields, embedding directly into its hull. A second later, the vessel blossomed into a silent starburst. The fleet panicked. "Shields are useless. They're inside our perimeter. Form up. Block them off." Ward's crew moved with surgical precision. Probes and warheads threaded impossible paths through layers of protection, bypassing every safeguard. Ships detonated in chains of light, shields rendered meaningless. On the bridge, the mood was almost casual. Alvarez leaned over his console. "So, how long before they realize we're not shooting through their shields?" Delane blinked. "Then how?" Ward answered quietly, eyes fixed on the chaos. "We're not attacking barriers. We're ignoring them." Minutes turned into slaughter. The coalition fleet fractured, ships scattering in panic. Formations collapsed as captains shouted contradictory orders. On the Council's secure channel, delegates watched the feed in horrified silence. What had begun as containment had turned into humiliation. The Avri delegate whispered, voice breaking, "They walked through 300 warships." The Krith elder growled low. "They did not fight the fleet. They fought reality itself." Back on the Dauntless, Alvarez flicked a switch, cutting another cruiser's engines. He grinned. "This feels like cheating." Ward's tone remained even. "Cheating implies someone wrote the rules first. We prefer editing." Delane stared at him. "Sir, they'll never stop now. Every empire will come for us." Ward folded his hands behind his back. "Good. Then the lesson spreads faster." The Dravari commander tried one last time, his voice a mix of rage and fear. "Terran ship, what do you want? Why show this power?" Ward's reply was calm, almost kind. "Because the galaxy counted us out. You assumed weakness was permanent. It isn't. We wanted to remind you of that. You threaten us all." "No," Ward said, his smile never wavering. "We warn you. Threats come later." The transmission cut. The battle ended not with victory celebrations, but silence. Where 300 ships had stood, barely half limped away. The rest drifted as wreckage, glowing embers across the expanse. The Dauntless emerged unscathed. Ward turned from the viewport, his voice quiet but carrying weight enough for the whole crew. Today wasn't conquest. It was introduction. The galaxy knows our name now. Alvarez leaned back, still chewing gum. Hell of a handshake. That evening, across hundreds of worlds, news broadcasts replayed the impossible battle. Citizens stared at screens, seeing the frail Terran vessel stroll through shields as though they didn't exist. Some laughed nervously, calling it propaganda. Others whispered prayers. A few started asking dangerous questions. If humans could bend the laws of physics, what else could they bend? In the council chambers, the debates turned frantic. Destroy them now before it spreads. Negotiate. We must learn their secret. No, ally with them. Better to stand beside the wolves than in their jaws. The galaxy fractured in argument. For the first time in centuries, unity cracked. And at the center, humanity smiled. In his quarters, Ward finally allowed himself a moment alone. He poured a drink, something stronger than the alien swill. He raised the glass, speaking softly into the silence. "They thought we were out of the game," he murmured. "Turns out, we were just learning how to change the rules." He sipped, gaze drifting to the stars outside. Beyond them, he knew, more fleets were already mobilizing. More enemies, more doubters. Good. Let them come. Humanity didn't need to break their walls. Humanity had learned how to walk through them. The galaxy's silence after Karen was louder than any war cry. Worlds that once sneered at humanity now spoke its name in hushed tones. Fleets paused, councils stalled, traders whispered rumors that bent truth into legend. Some claimed Earth had built weapons from collapsed stars. Others swore Terrans had enslaved physics itself. Nobody had the full truth, and that was the point. On the Terran side, Captain Elias Ward stood before the Defense Directorate, Earth's highest military council. The room was buried beneath kilometers of rock, shielded against every known sensor. Holographic projectors traced the battle's outcome in stark detail. 300 ships lost or broken, one Terran ship untouched. The Director of Strategy, a sharp-eyed woman named Vieira, folded her arms. The demonstration worked. They're rattled. Ward's reply was calm. Rattled isn't enough. Fear fades. We needed them to believe we only showed the surface. A pause. Then murmurs around the table. You mean there's more? Asked one general, disbelief creeping into his voice. Ward's eyes flicked across the room. What the galaxy saw was a shadow. We let them witness us bending shields, slipping through fire. But that's not our weapon. That's our bait. The room stilled. Days later, the Galactic Council convened in emergency session. Delegates filled the massive chamber, voices clashing in a storm of fear and calculation. They must be destroyed before they spread their corruption, snarled the Dravari. Destroyed? You couldn't even touch them at Karen, the Avri delegate shot back. Then ally with them, hissed another. Better a leash than a knife. Arguments spiraled, each empire protecting its pride, each too afraid to act alone. In the center of the chamber, a hologram flickered to life. A human figure. Captain Ward. Calm, polite, his hands folded behind his back. His presence silenced the room. Esteemed counselors, he began, voice steady, almost gentle. You called this assembly because you fear what you saw. Good. Fear is healthy. It sharpens the mind. The Krith elder slammed a claw on the table. You dare lecture us? Ward smiled faintly. I don't lecture. I warn. The room bristled, but no one interrupted. You've seen what one Terran ship can do. You assume it was a weapon. You're wrong. It was a message. Humanity isn't here to conquer. Not yet. But you should know, the field we unveiled at Karen wasn't meant for your fleets. The chamber erupted with shouts. Ward waited until the noise burned itself out. It was meant, he continued softly, for something else. Something coming. Behind the projection, in a secure room aboard the Dauntless, Ward's officers monitored the council's every twitch. Alvarez leaned back, chewing gum. You really think they'll buy it? They already have, Ward said. Because deep down, they need it to be true. Delane frowned. But, sir, what if they ask what's coming? Ward's expression never shifted. Then we let them imagine it. Their imagination will always be worse than the truth. Back in the council chamber, the silence was heavy now, different. The suggestion of an unseen threat had changed the air. Ward pressed the advantage. For centuries, you've fought over borders and titles. You've wasted fleets proving who rules the stars. Humanity learned something different. The universe doesn't care about your empires. It hides predators none of you have faced. We built our technology for them, not you. And now you forced us to reveal it early. The words landed like blades. The delegates shifted uneasily, some pale, some enraged. You expect us to believe in phantoms? One scoffed. Ward's smile widened, but his tone never lost its softness. Believe what you like. But remember Karen. 300 ships. Not one scratch on us. Ask yourselves, if that was only a test, what do you think we're truly prepared for? In the secure chamber, Vieira watched the feeds. Some delegates whispered to aides. Others stared blankly. Seeds planted. Alvarez muttered, We didn't even lie. There are things out there. Ward nodded slightly. Yes. But they don't need to know how close. Not yet. The council fractured over the following days. Some empires pushed to ally with humanity immediately, desperate to stand inside the shield of this newfound power. Others demanded preemptive strikes, convinced Earth was bluffing. The indecision paralyzed them. Meanwhile, Terran intelligence leaked carefully curated fragments. Grainy images of impossible objects drifting beyond mapped space. Records of vanished scout fleets. Distorted signals hinting at something vast, awake, and moving. None confirmed, all terrifying. The galaxy did the rest of the work, filling the gaps with its own nightmares. On the Dauntless, Alvarez leaned against the rail, watching starfields roll past. So what now? We scared the hell out of them, scattered their unity, hinted at big bad wolves in the dark. Feels like half a job. Ward answered quietly, gaze steady on the stars. Half a job is enough. They'll spend years watching shadows, doubting each other, wasting fleets hunting ghosts. All while we build. Delane tilted her head. Build what? Ward's smile was razor-thin. A fleet they can't imagine. And when the time comes, the galaxy won't fear what we say. They'll fear what we haven't said yet. On dozens of worlds, children whispered about humans who walked through walls of fire. Soldiers trained nervously, glancing at their shields as if they'd crumble at the next encounter. Politicians lost sleep, debating whether to bow, fight, or hide. The Terran gambit had worked. The galaxy no longer saw Earth as weak. It saw Earth as unknowable. And nothing terrifies empires more than the unknown. Late one night, Ward stood alone on the observation deck. No crew, no council, just him and the stars. He raised a glass in quiet salute. To peace, he murmured, almost a joke. Then, after a pause, and to the day they learn what we really built. Behind his reflection, the stars burned cold and endless. Somewhere out there, fleets gathered, plotting humanity's downfall. Somewhere further, perhaps, the true predators stirred. But here, now, Earth was no longer prey. And for the first time in history, the galaxy realized it might be standing inside humanity's trap all along.